they not just didn't support your belief in yourself and your belief that you are enough and that you are capable, but they actually went out of their way to harm you. They don't want you to be confident. They don't want you to believe that you are enough, because then that destroys the toxic family cycle. They are not going to want you to believe in yourself. They don't even know how to do that themselves. So not only can they not teach you, but it actually interrupts and upsets the entire family dynamic if you have high self-worth. If you're the black sheep, the cycle breaker, or the parentified eldest daughter, you're in the right place. Welcome to Becoming Enough, empowering black sheep and cycle breakers to remember their worth. I'm Roshni, your host, and the founder of Black Sheep Experience. Through coaching, spiritual offerings, and guided resources, I teach you how to regain your sense of self-worth after surviving your toxic childhood. Visit blacksheepexperience.com to work together one-on-one or to find additional resources. Your experience as the black sheep is unique, and it's time we finally started to talk about it. What's up, Black Sheep, and welcome back to the Becoming Enough podcast. I'm your host, Roshni. I help Black Sheep and cycle breakers rebuild their self-worth after their toxic families. Last podcast episode was on 3 ways that narcissistic parents can destroy your confidence. And today I wanted to focus on 5 ways that you can actually heal and rebuild your self-worth after having narcissistic parents or toxic parents. So the first thing I want to talk about is why self-worth, right? Like, why does self-worth even matter in the first place? First reason is that it's honestly the core of all of your problems, okay? The reason why I even went on my personal journey of healing my self-worth is because I realized all the problems in my life, no matter how separate they were, actually tied back to self-worth issues, or not believing that I'm enough, or not believing I'm worthy of the thing that I want. So if we take this, and the same thing has been true for my clients, this comes up in my tarot readings with clients. This is something that is so common in this community, and not just in the black sheep community, but our entire society these days benefits off of us having low self-worth. We can be very much rooted in this idea of having to perfect ourselves, having to perform, having to be a certain type of person to feel worthy. A lot of the things that you might struggle with, from people pleasing to perfectionism to waiting for permission to do the things that you want, or waiting for people around you to approve the dreams that you have, even self-sacrificing, having poor boundaries when it comes to work, or even overworking yourself, not being able to set or enforce boundaries when it comes to other relationships you have, or being able to navigate relationship conflict in a way that feels healthy and productive. All of these things have a root in self-worth in one way or another. And healing your self-worth allows a lot of these other problems to have a stronger foundation, so that even when you do need to specialize in these other issues, you have a stronger foundation to hold that, right? I don't want to spend too much time focusing on just that today, because that's what the rest of my podcast is for. I have a ton of podcast episodes that you can go through and find and see what you resonate with if you're interested in this relationship between something like people pleasing or hyper independence and self-worth. Like, that's what my content is here for, right? But the second reason that you should be focusing on your self-worth, especially if you're a black sheep, is because the way that your toxic family, the way that your narcissistic parent or parents, the way that your toxic family dynamic treated you was a literal attack on your self-worth. And that's why I posted the video that I posted last week talking about ways narcissistic parents destroy your confidence, right? And confidence and self-worth aren't the exact same thing, but they essentially attack your ability to believe in yourself. They're very verbally discouraging. They can be downright verbally abusive to you when you're growing up. And it creates all of these issues that I'm going to get into in this episode about how they not just didn't support your belief in yourself and your belief that you are enough and that you are capable, but they actually went out of their way to harm you. They don't want you to be confident. They don't want you to believe that you are enough, because then that destroys the toxic family cycle. If we have had generations in our family who refuse to acknowledge certain things, who brush things under the rug, who refuse to have conversations with one another or have explosive conversations with each other, but then never actually resolve anything. If you have generations in your family who just live through the same the same exact cycles of abusing substances or making the same kind of pattern. They are not going to want you to believe in yourself. They don't even know how to do that themselves. So not only can they not teach you, but it actually interrupts and upsets the entire family dynamic if you have high self-worth. No one in these past generations of your family, in a lot of cases, has had a true sense of high self-worth. And that's been because these generational cycles carry on. That's why they're called generational cycles, right? They carry from one person to the next down the family lineage until someone looks at them and does the hard work of breaking them. And if you are watching this, that person is you. The first thing that you're going to start paying attention to when you want to heal your self-worth is your self-talk, your inner critic, your inner dialogue. These things are so important because it is the script that's running in your head 24/7. We are constantly running a story, and every time we have a story, we all know what confirmation bias is. Our brains are looking for confirmation of that event or of that belief or that idea about ourselves every single day. So if we are constantly telling ourselves that we are losers and that we're never going to get anywhere and we should just stop trying now and you're making a fool of yourself and you're stupid and you're cringy and all of that stuff constantly, we are going to find evidence of that around us, or we are going to take someone looking at us as almost as a threat or as a reason that we shouldn't believe in ourselves. And we end up spiraling around these little things that we experience, which confirms what we think, which makes us believe the thoughts even more. And it's just a vicious cycle, right? So understanding the way that you talk to yourself, the way that you treat yourself is also going to make a huge impact on how much change you actually experience in life. If you're going to the gym, right, or you're starting to create a new health habit in your life and you want to have a more active lifestyle and a healthier routine, if you miss going to the gym one day, your self-talk shouldn't immediately go to, I'm worthless, what am I doing, I'm a bad person, I'm stupid, I know I can't keep up with anything, this is why I shouldn't have done I should just cancel my membership. It can be very all or nothing, and it can also constantly put you in a cycle of shame, right? You can go into a shame spiral. You can start blaming yourself, and that makes you not want to change. So if you are in this space of wanting to heal yourself and wanting to change how you do things or wanting to grow, or if you ever set goals for yourself, all of that is going to involve some sort of discipline, some sort of change, some sort of learning a new skill or creating a new behavior or habit. And the more that you are constantly shaming yourself for your inability to, well, really for you making a mistake, which is completely human and normal, the more that you are going to have setbacks, the more that the changing process is going to be unpleasant. And so if you are going to the gym pretty consistently and then you take some time off, or something happens and something else happens and all of a sudden you haven't gone in a week or two, being able to be compassionate with yourself and hold yourself and be like, okay, it's not that big of a deal, I'm just going to go back. It could be that simple, but for so many of us, it turns into a huge source of us spiraling and shaming ourselves, telling ourselves that we're never going to have the body that we want, or we're never going to be active, or we should just go backwards on all these other decisions that we made because we can't do it perfectly. And that's also where the all or nothing mindset comes in. That's where perfectionism comes in, right? All these things are really intertwined. And that's why I say that self-worth is at the root of everything. And if you do struggle with a black or white mindset, I have my Bye Binary Thinking workbook that's completely free. I highly recommend taking this and just working through it. It makes you think about your daily thoughts and your daily life, right? So if you are like, okay, I know this is me and I need to get my head straight, or I need to kind of reflect more on the thoughts and the things that I'm saying to myself, I highly recommend that workbook. Like I said, it's completely free. You can download it, print it out, edit the PDF, whatever you want to do. But it's such a helpful way of being able to look at your mindset from multiple different directions and be able to recognize the actual day-to-day thoughts that you are having that are not helping you and that are actually harming you. When it comes to healing your inner talk, your inner dialogue, the first thing you need to know is that you have to be so intentional about it. And the first step to that is observing, right? So taking a time to write down stream of conscious thoughts, like, when I'm upset with myself, this is what I say, and just let it rip on paper, right? Or observing the next time you are in like a place of a lot of stress, a lot of impatience, a lot of anger towards yourself. Okay, what are my thoughts saying? And sometimes even the act of observing and being like, okay, my thoughts are telling me that I'm a bad person. My thoughts are telling me that I'm always going to mess this up. My thoughts are telling me that I'm never going to get where I want to go. Even noting that and observing that puts a little distance between the thought and the emotion that it creates. And that can be a really helpful, like, little wrench to throw in this constant cycle to stop it for a minute and say, okay, whoa, 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 I'm actually in control here. I can have all these thoughts and I don't need to believe them. If you have ever had intrusive thoughts in your life, you have the skill of knowing that you shouldn't believe or act on every single one of your thoughts. But when it comes to our self-talk, it feels different. And the main thing that I want to also mention here is that your inner critic is what your inner critic is the voice of your biggest bully. So for Black Sheep and Cycle Breakers, that was most often our parents or one of our parents. And that voice of them shaming you, them saying that everything you're wearing looks bad, them attacking the way that you do things. I mean, literally, they can sometimes just attack the way you walk, the way you eat, the way you sit, the way you read, like literally everything about you becomes a source of contention for them, becomes a reason for them to yell at you and take their anger out on you. And it is so hard to be in that place because, especially as a child, you are out of control. Like you have no control over the situation is what I mean. Like you can't control how they're acting to you. And when they get angry over the smallest things, it's not like something you can stop doing. You're not just going to be able to change the way that you walk or sit down or eat, but they will find absolutely anything to come down on you. And so then we start understanding that and knowing what they're going to say and integrating that into our own thoughts as a way to protect ourselves from shame. If they criticize that you in this outfit, you're not really going to wear that outfit again. Right? In a lot of cases, and it kind of depends, but if they say you look really bad in that, what are you doing? It's going to take a lot of confidence to put that back on and to feel good about yourself. And so these are little ways that they can really get into your head. And when you notice that pattern, that's when as an adult, you start seeing, oh my God, my thoughts are exactly what they used to say to me. It's the exact same thing. It's repackaged. It's a little different. It's in my voice, but it's what they said. And so knowing that also honestly helped comfort me and be like, you know what? That's even more motivation why I want to get rid of these thoughts, why I want to separate myself from these thoughts, because they are not my own. I didn't even come up with this. They're the ones that put this on me and now I'm carrying it on like a torch. Like, I don't think so. So that's number one, is understanding, observing, and moving through or trying to change your self-talk on a daily basis. The second way to heal your self-worth is to get to know your pattern of self-sacrifice. Okay, where are you people-pleasing? Where are you rolling over and letting other people tell you what to do? Where are you waiting on permission or approval from the people around you to co-sign your goals and your dreams, right? How many people have you asked about starting like your new baking business or your new like content creator journey or your new goal to be a UGC creator? And the people around you, even if they are your partner or your siblings or new friends that you've made and not directly your toxic family, you can still wait on them to think that it's a good idea for you to pursue it. Right? Or feeling like you have to constantly like overwork yourself, right? And you kind of give your body and your mind and all of your energy to your day job or your corporate job or to whatever that career is for you. That can also be a way that you are sacrificing yourself because you feel like you are going to earn something at the end. And the thing about self-sacrifice is that it always kind of comes along with resentment, right? You sacrifice all these things for that you wanted to be with your partner, and then they do something wrong and out comes all of this anger and all of this frustration because you are so resentful at all the things you've given up, even though they didn't ask you to give those things up. In many cases, maybe they might have. In other cases, you might, constantly be putting in the extra hours and the extra time and going to your boss about everything and communicating all these things and taking on all these new projects. And then you get skipped over for the promotion and you are instantly resentful. And yes, there might be some level of like, it's just not fair or something did happen, but also you took it upon yourself to overwork yourself in the first place. You took extra projects on yourself in some of these situations. So it's important to know, okay, what are my boundaries? Where am I not going to budge when it comes to taking care of myself? And this has been one of the hardest lessons I have learned. If you've been like an OG follower of mine, if you follow me on Instagram, especially over the last 5 years, I have shared so much about my journey of constantly burning out, constantly needing to be perfect, constantly, just overworking myself, right? I overworked myself so much to the point that I had 2 pinched nerves in my neck. I couldn't move my arms or I couldn't do anything for over a month. I couldn't even put on a jacket to go outside. I could barely feed myself. And I was just literally on bed rest for over a month I wasn't even working at a day job. I did this working for my business and not ever letting myself rest and constantly going back to number 1, shaming myself and being angry with myself when I couldn't keep up with the constant demand. And that has been such a major cycle that I've broken in my life, because I had to realize, I don't care how much it asks of me. I don't care what the reward is at the end. I'm not sacrificing my mental, emotional, or physical well-being for anything else. If I stop functioning, so does this business. So I'm not going to keep putting this business as my top priority ahead of myself. It just doesn't make sense. And even underestimating yourself can be a form of self-sacrifice, because you are not going for the thing. You're not going for the things that you want. You're settling constantly over and over and over again for these things that are mediocre to you, for these things that don't actually make you happy. And for some of us, we can't just immediately go and live our full dream lives tomorrow, but we can take a lot of steps. We can change things. We can grow in that direction. But if you're not even giving yourself the chance to try, that is when you are settling. That's when you're not even trying, right? And that's a form of self-sacrifice. The reason that this affects Black sheep so much, or people who grew up with a narcissistic parent or a toxic family, is that they benefited from you sacrificing yourself. They constantly taught you to put their needs above their own, to put your siblings' needs above your own, especially if you're an oldest daughter or son. And all of that ends up teaching you that you are only loved or you are only worthy when you perform for others, or when you perform, period. This could also be like a golden child story for a lot of families, where maybe you were the star athlete or the star musician or whatever it is that your parents wanted you to do. And as soon as you stopped winning games, or as soon as you stopped earning these awards, you suddenly felt a complete lack of love from your parents. A lot of that is also the idea of conditional love, right? They only love you for doing certain things, for performing. And it teaches you that you are worthy in this small little box. And if you're not doing that, you're not worthy at all. And that is also the mental story that contributes to burnout on a constant basis. If you are working so hard and you don't get that thing, it's like the Olympics, right, going on right now. If you work so hard to be an Olympian and you don't win, but you have been self-sacrificing the entire time, you could go into a full state of burnout. Whereas if you are someone who has been working to that goal tirelessly and exhaustively, but you've also been prioritizing yourself and taking care of yourself and taking a step back for a minute when you need, then you may still be frustrated or angry when you don't win, but you may not have a complete collapse of self, right? There's an idea of self-identity at the very core of this that's more important, right? Anyone can be disappointed or angry or frustrated. We're all humans, and we are all going to experience a vast array of emotions for our entire life, right? That's okay. But it's about the inner collapse of knowing who you are. And that's why I say that self-worth is a foundation. It is the foundation to your core. The third way you can begin to rebuild your self-worth is through self-efficacy. Okay, so I'm just going to read it because I don't want to fumble the definition, but self-efficacy is one's belief that they can control one's environment and achieve a desired outcome. So this was actually studied amongst students, and this is something that I also studied in college. Students who have self-efficacy often go on to achieve more things, take more risks, be able to just ultimately have more confidence because they're willing to try new things, because they have a belief in themselves, or they have a belief that there is an ability to achieve a desired outcome, even becoming, XYZ in a adulthood or having a certain career or profession. It's the ability to believe that you can make something happen, that you have motivation to do that. Because if you don't believe that you can become a doctor, why would you ever even apply to med school, right? If you don't believe that you can do something, or no one around you has ever done it, or you don't know how to get there and you're too afraid to try, it's never going to happen. And every single thought, every goal, every idea that we have starts as just an idea. It becomes something through dedication and effort and constant just returning to that idea, believing in it, pouring into it, watering it, nourishing it, right? And then eventually it grows, and we still have to maintain it. We still have to do things to care for it and sustain it, right? And so knowing that anything I want to do that's cool in life is going to start as some far off idea, but by actually sticking to it, I can make it happen. That is really the core idea of self-efficacy. And I actually just found this research study. I'll put a little bit more about it on the screen. This study was fascinating because it shows that self-efficacy has the potential to change the dynamic of the client's expected outcome from coping with the effects of adverse childhood experiences to living a thriving life overall. The study also mentions that they're still working on how to improve self-efficacy, but the research is there to back up that it is worth building. So self-efficacy can almost work in this backwards way where you are building this belief in yourself, and it is actually helping you recover from a lot of the adverse childhood experiences you had. And that is so interesting because it reminds me again of this idea of neuroplasticity. And that's why every single thing that I'm mentioning in this episode is possible. It's possible because our brains are always changing. Our brains can always create new neural pathways, right? And this is something we talk about a lot on the internet, but I also studied neuroscience for a bit in college as well for the first 2 years of college. And ultimately it was not the right path for me, but there's a lot of evidence talking about the way that brains form new neurons, and building a new habit can ultimately create a new neural pathway in the brain where it's not like, oh, this is my, I'm not the kind of person that goes to the gym. Okay, I'm never going to go to the gym. You can then start going from, I'm not the kind of person who goes to the gym to, oh, wow, this is interesting. I'm going to the gym. That's kind of weird because that's not really me, but it's me. Until you become, I am the person who goes to the gym, and it's a natural occurrence for you to do that. And there's no friction there. There's no resistance there, right? So knowing that all of these changes are possible, all the way from self-talk to building a belief in yourself to having high self-worth, it's literally possible and built by neuroscience. Our bodies want that. Our bodies are okay with us creating major changes and telling us new stories and believing new narratives. So it's really beautiful to kind of think that we have this ability to have this impact on our own lives. And why not take it, right? Why not do what we can, especially because it's free? It can be free to begin working on your journey. And maybe you do want to invest down the line in a therapist or in certain body work or in, physical healing modalities or a coach or whatever it is, but you can do this work on your own. Your brain will support you doing this work on your own. But let's talk about it. So self-efficacy will ultimately build confidence. The more that you believe you can do something, the more confident you are, even when it's something you've never done before, right? So the idea, again, of how it impacts your ability to take risks. The more you believe in yourself, the more that you are willing to take a risk in a new area that you've never even approached before because you believe in yourself. And that is also connected to the idea of self-trust, right? Self-trust is also what allows you to follow through with that risk because you trust that your trust isn't in the outcome. Your trust isn't in everything going perfectly well and, there's no mistakes and there's no issues. It doesn't matter what it is in life. There's going to be mistakes. There's going to be issues that come up. But if you trust yourself, your trust is in yourself, which means that you don't rely on the outcome being a certain way. Whatever happens, you know that you have yourself. You know that you can get yourself to the next place, or you can hold yourself through quitting this thing that you wanted to do, or you can hold yourself through pivoting and starting it in a new direction. Again, self-worth is the foundation. The freedom that you feel when you have a high sense of self-worth is unlike any other. You know that you have the freedom to leave any job that isn't treating you well, to leave any partner who's not ultimately going to be the best for you. You have the self-worth and the belief in yourself to create the life that you want, which is literally self-efficacy, right? The belief that you can control your environment. And I know that, of course, there's pushback in certain places. Okay, well, I don't have the money to leave right now, or I don't have this or that. But you can still ultimately, even if it takes time, create a plan or take steps in that direction, even if it takes a little bit of time, because you ultimately believe that you are worthy of that thing, or you believe that it's possible, or understanding that self-efficacy and self-worth ultimately set you free is such an empowering idea to have. And if you're watching this and you're in your 20s, this is especially, like, it's never too late to work on this, but your 20s are such a tough time. The more that you develop your self-worth in this time period in your life, the easier it will feel later on as you continue to move through other obstacles, because again, you have then set the foundation for these other roller coaster moments in your life. The fourth way to heal your self-worth is inner child work. Now, I know that people have strong opinions about this either way. I'm never going to advocate for inner child work if it feels harmful for you, if it feels like it's not the time for you to be doing that. There are many ways that you can heal your inner child or work with your inner child. And there's lighthearted ways to do it, and there's ways that are honestly really kind of heavy, and it's up to you. Or if you're working with a therapist or coach, you can also, kind of, like, I wouldn't necessarily ask them what's right for you, but you can kind of have this conversation with them and see, like, what makes sense for you to do as their client, right? But inner child work can be something going from as heavy as But one of the most healing experiences that I did with my inner child is I would envision myself in these really dark, tough moments as a child, as a preteen, even as a teenager, when I felt so incredibly hopeless. I didn't know if I had a future. I didn't know what was going to happen to me. I was battling with even wanting to live. And there were some very, very dark times. Multiple. I couldn't even recount every dark time that these thoughts have come up, or these things have happened to me that I felt so incredibly trapped in and so broken. And so I would almost see it in my mind as a scene, and I would send my adult self, right, the self that I had become, into those moments. And I would like push everything away, and I would get down on their level, because they usually were sitting on the floor crying. And I would hold their hand, and I would like tell them that it all turns out okay, that there's a reason to keep going. And oh my God, this is almost going to make me emotional, because it's so heavy and it's so layered. But I felt at that time, going back to the last topic, that I had actually I trusted myself, right? Even though I wasn't fully deep into my healing journey, I had seen that I went to college and I graduated and I got a job out of college, and I met my partner, and we lived together in this safe, beautiful home that was like filled with art and filled with our memories and, our friends, and having all these things. Like, even though my life wasn't perfect and there were still a lot of struggles and a lot of things I was trying to figure out, I felt like I had a level of trust in myself and in my environment that I had never experienced before. And so when I was doing this inner child work, I was that person. I was that person that had my own place to live thousands of miles away, and I was out of the direct control of my parents, and, I felt like I could breathe a little bit. And so going back to, my preteen self, or my teenager self, or my 4-year-old self, and holding their hand and giving them the biggest hug and telling them that it's going to be okay, and that I'm here for them, and that, like, you make it through this, was so incredibly healing for me. And it did allow some things to be kind of stay in the past, or to feel like they had come to a culmination, right? It's like when you have all of these horrific moments and memories in your past. And again, I have CPTSD as well, so I get a lot of flashbacks. I used to get way more flashbacks than I do now, thankfully, but it happens sometimes and you really can't control it. And it almost feels like there's all these open tabs in your brain of, like, you'll randomly get a flashback to a horrific memory, or, something someone said to you, or something that happened that you can't ever forget. And it just feels like there's so much running in the background of your mind all the time. If you relate to this, you just know, you know what it feels like. And being able to like go back, especially to some of these really prominent moments in my past that would keep replaying or that I was seeing again and again, and being able to really heal myself and hold myself through it and give my younger child, my younger self, like the love that I needed at that time, the hug that I needed, the warmth that I needed, like the encouragement that I needed, was truly something that I'm so grateful for. And this was something that I did pretty frequently. I would just kind of, whenever it felt like it was right, I would do that. And it didn't matter how many times I went to the same scene or how many different scenes I went to, it still helped a lot. And now I notice that I get to have more fun with my inner child. And so that's actually the second way. Oh, it was just 444 on the timer too. But I get to have more fun with my inner child now. And that was one of the ways that they wanted to come out and kind of play. And the second option I wanted to talk to you about is, if all of that inner child healing feels a little too intense for you right now, you don't have to force anything when it comes to your healing, especially when you're dealing with trauma or active trauma. Like you didn't get to control or feel safe in so much of your life. It is important that you set the boundaries to do that with yourself now, even if the boundaries are with yourself and what you can handle. So I really want to reemphasize that you do not have to do this unless you feel explicitly, excitedly ready, right? But on the fun side, maybe this is watching a movie that you used to love, or, dressing up like you used to love. I know some people like fully decorate their houses like Y2K or 90s, or, whatever was big when they were younger. Finding, just like different nostalgic things that you like to do, or doing things that maybe like rollerblading or ice skating. I used to do those things all the time as a kid. And being able to go back and do that as an adult, or even with my partner now, has been so fun and like freeing. Earlier, I think this was last year actually, in like January, my partner and I decided to go to one of those like bouncy gymnastic trampoline places, but it was like also for adults. And it was so fun to just be able to like jump around and do like stupid things that you would do when you were a kid. Like all those things can be so lighthearted, and even bringing movement into it, right? With like some sort of sport or activity or whatever it is that you used to do can be so fun. Even if you live alone, right? You can do like create like a whole night of things that you would want to ask your parents for, and they would always say no, but now you get to do whatever you want. So you get to like have that night for yourself, or throw like your dream sleepover for you and your closest friends. Like whatever it is that you want to do to celebrate that younger version of you, that's also a form of inner child healing. And it can be a lot more fun and a lot lighter, but it is just as impactful to, again, reconnect with that inner child and give them the things that they wanted so badly that they couldn't have, or, throw them these parties or these events where someone didn't leave angry and end up screaming and end up ruining the whole thing for you. Like, it's nice to bring some life back to those like moments that you actually did love or care about or always dreamed about in childhood. The fifth way to heal your self-worth is going to be through somatics and somatic safety. But the one thing that I keep returning to in my somatic work and in my somatic journey is building safety. So say you're having like the worst day ever, right? Like you wake up late for work and your car is acting weird, and then you get to work and you're still running late, and then your boss is starting to yell at you about something and just whatever, right? It's a terrible day, and you start to feel really, really activated. You start to feel triggered. You maybe like want to cry, or you just feel extremely angry. And you can move through that through somatic work, right? So whether it's tapping through it, whether it is finding a way to just kind of breathe, or put your hand on your heart and one hand on your belly and just kind of feel your body, reconnect with your body. Like there's times, so many times in my life where I've been in the bathroom at work doing like a quick silent somatic exercise because I need a minute to get it together. Otherwise I'm just going to like cry in the office or something, right? And but what I've noticed in those times when I feel activated and I'm using somatic work to get through it is, oh my God, I always ask the question, what does my body need? And the answer is always safety. My body always needs safety in that moment, whether it's a fight in a friendship or a fight in my relationship or an issue at work or a financial issue or financial worries. At the core of any of those triggers is a need for safety. And this is something that is so big for Black Sheep because we never got that feeling of being coddled and being, just like fawned over, and like your parents just love you and are just safe for you, right? We may get that like overbearing kind of love, but it's more like control. And we don't get like that healthy, boundaried, unconditional love that so many people actually get to experience. So, at the deepest core of ourselves, we feel unsafe. We don't feel like we have anywhere to go where we can just turn our brain off and relax. You know what I mean? We don't have anywhere that we go that we feel like we can completely be ourselves, that we will completely be accepted and loved and safe. And love to a baby is literally safety, right? If your parent doesn't love you and you are a baby, they can just decide to stop taking care of you. They can just leave you. And that love and that safety is so intertwined on a physiological level in the human body that when we don't feel that love, we also still continue to feel unsafe. So growing up in a childhood where you never felt that love, where it was never expressed to you, not having those healthy examples of love, not having someone you can turn to when things go wrong or when you make a mistake or when things aren't perfect is so damaging. It also teaches you that you are just unaccepted, that only little versions of you, like I mentioned earlier, are going to be loved and are going to be accepted. So we don't have anywhere where we can be our full selves, where we can even feel like we love our full selves. And so again, in these day-to-day moments where you get triggered and things are really difficult, you're searching for safety. You're searching for reassurance from your partner or from your friends. Maybe you're searching for reassurance from your boss that you're not going to get fired or that you did okay on this assignment or whatever it is, right? And even that bid for reassurance with the other person is an outreach of needing safety, of needing someone to be like, oh, I'm not going to abandon you. You're not going to lose this job. You're not going to be abandoned. We're not going to break up over this. You're not going to be abandoned, right? It is so important for us to know that that is true. So I just wanted to mention that because if you do somatic work on your own, even lymphatic drainages, or maybe even lymphatic drainage, or maybe you go for lymphatic massages or regular massages, or exercise can be your way of regulating your nervous system, right? And doing some somatic work. You can think about things that make you angry when you're on the treadmill or when you're like pumping that heavy weight, and it can give you that extra push and that extra courage to be able to get through it. All of those things can be fortified from the idea of believing that we are safe, right? And if you're interested in how to begin somatic work or interested in how you can connect somatic work to self-worth specifically, I have 2 entire modules on this in the self-worth blueprint for Black Sheep and Cycle Breakers. I'm going to show it on the screen here, but I have an entire hour-long EFT session where I tap through all of these doubts and feelings around being unworthy and build you up so that you do feel a sense of self-worth. So the entire hour-long EFT round, I'm going to teach you how to tap, and I'm going to teach you which points on your body to tap. You're going to follow along with me, repeat the affirmations with me, so you can just sit back and enjoy the practice and focus on the healing. Focus on the sensations in your body. But that is such an incredible way to address your self-talk, to rewire your brain, to bring your body and mind on the same page around feeling safe, around feeling worthy. So that's one of the modules in the course. And another one is specifically a sleepy somatic routine. So I designed this somatic routine specifically for self-worth, specifically for Black Sheep and Cycle Breakers, specifically for people who may also struggle with low mobility, people who struggle with depression. None of these are going to be like jumping up and down and putting all this energy into it. Those things are great. But I know when I was in the depths of my low self-worth, when I was in the depths of my struggle trying to heal from my toxic family, I had no energy left. I had a bare amount of energy to get through the day, and that was it. I was tapped out. And so having something that's very, very gentle, very encouraging, very accepting, very like easy, but still something that's going to leave your body feeling so much better than it did before, that is going to be what this somatic routine is. And it's something that I also offer modifications for, so you don't have to do it the same way every time. And it's something that I'm just honestly so, so proud of. So the self-worth blueprint for Black Sheep and Cycle Breakers is literally a blueprint to rebuild your self-worth if you are a Black Sheep or Cycle Breaker. And that is why I created this, was because you may be a DIYer, right? You want to do things on your own. You want to heal on your own. Maybe you don't want to invest the extra money into it. Maybe you don't feel safe healing around someone else right now. Maybe you just want to like dip your toe in the water and kind of like explore a little bit. But if you need to pull back, you can pull back. That's who I created this course for. It is the first way that you can get in your foot in the door of this healing work, of learning how you are being affected by these worthiness wounds that are in your life. And it will also give you the tools to move through it. And things like EFT or somatic routines, or like certain exercises in the somatic routine, those are lifelong skills and things that you can add to like your therapeutic toolbox that you can use for the rest of your life that don't cost you a thing. And that's really what I wanted to do. So that course is only $50 and you get all the modules, everything's included. It's self-paced, so you're not going to have to stress about missing a live class or getting behind or having to catch up. Like, it's all on your time frame. It's all up to the effort and the energy that you want to put into it. And that's why I love it so much. If you are someone who's like, I really want someone to be in the weeds with me. I want to feel like someone is holding my hand through this. I want to feel like someone is right there with me, like someone genuinely understands. I don't want to do this work on my own. I want more of like, you know, just feeling like someone is genuinely on this journey with me. That is what a self-worth coaching session is for. I do have discounts if you book a bundle of sessions. I have a long-term coaching program called Face the Stillness, where we learn to get really quiet and listen to our own bodies and our own intuition. So I have different ways of working with you one-on-one, either for one session or for multiple. And even as someone who has spent many different years of my life in therapy, I have had to explain my problematic relationship with my parents so many times, and so many people just do not get it. And being able to just have someone believe you when you tell them that things were hard, or that things were not fair, or that things were unjust is so priceless. And not only that, but it saves so much time. Like, I can't tell you how many sessions I paid for, or how many like sessions through my insurance were wasted on me just trying to convince my therapist to believe me. And that was honestly just as bad. Like, that was just as traumatizing as no one believing me my whole life before that. You know what I mean? And like, I don't know. I just feel like there needs to be something better done about that, or done about these societal ideas that our parents can't harm us. Cause like, what are we even talking about? Okay. This has gotten to be a long episode. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you like and subscribe, or comment and review if you're listening on the podcast. Remember that you're worthy, whether you believe it or not. Thanks for tuning in today, Black Sheep. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate, review, and share it with your chosen family. Visit blacksheepexperience.com to book a self-worth coaching session, tarot reading, or to enroll in the self-worth blueprint for Black Sheep and Cycle Breakers. Follow Black Sheep Experience on Instagram to stay tapped into upcoming events and resources for the Black Sheep Collective. Take good care of yourself and your community, and I'll see you next week.